In this demonstration, I want to show you how you can install MAMP, which is the Mac Apache MySQL PHP web package installation. And you can, on a Mac, you can have the inherent Apache service that comes with your Apple computer, but Apple's made it a little bit harder now to actually access that. So I'm not going to show you that. And also, you could use XAMPP or something like that, but I'm going to recommend MAMP. I think that it's one of the preferred ones for me. Anyway, I'm going to type in Google search MAMP, and it's going to be your first hit, which is right here. I'm going to click on that. It takes you to the main page, and before you automatically go and start to click, the one on the left is the free version, the one on the right is the paid version. Don't just click this though if you have an older operating system. I want you to go first to Downloads, and I want you to read this information. So make sure that you have the right requirements before you start downloading things. If you have the newest package, the newest operating system, for example, I'm on 10.8, then you can go ahead off the first page and just grab it. But otherwise, I recommend that you go and you read under Downloads. Make sure you're downloading the right version. So I'm going to go ahead and download that, and I'm going to go pause this while it downloads. Okay, so it's finished downloading. I'm going to go ahead and jump to my downloads. I'm going to click that, and it's going to unzip it for me, and here's the package that it created. I'm going to double click that, go ahead and install it. Close that. And it's going to give you this installer screen. Go ahead and walk through it. And don't worry where it says MAMP Pro. Don't worry. That's okay. I'm going to show you how to fix that. Okay. Even though it's not the Pro version, it still is going to download the Pro version to your computer. So just, don't be confused by that. We'll fix that in a moment. Okay, so this is going to go ahead and install. Okay, so it's finished for me. I'm going to close this, and now what we can do is go to your applications folder wherever you have that, and we're going to find where it says MAMP. And see, it says MAMP Pro. Now let's actually go to the applications folder. I'm going to open it in the Finder. You could also do it differently, where you open it through your Macintosh hard drive. But I'm going to jump down to the MAMP. Now, all you have to do to get rid of MAMP Pro is literally move that folder to the trash, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore. Okay, so this is where your application is stored though. So I'm going to drop this down, and I'm going to show you a couple of things. This application right here, that is the launcher that's going to launch the MAMP program. And so if you want to make a shortcut to that in your dock, that way you can always just start it and stop it easily. You can go ahead and drag it there. The other thing I'm going to show you is this folder called htdocs is the web serving directory. Okay, htdocs is going to be your web serving directory for your web installation. That means that when you go to the browser and you type in a web address that is referring to files that are serving up off of your computer, they're going to be looking inside of this htdocs folder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a shortcut right here so it's really easy for me to access it anytime I want to jump and look inside that folder. Okay, so it's really easy for me to make a shortcut that way, or you could make it on your desktop, or like if you wanted, you could also put it here as well. All right, so it's up to you. All right, where you want your shortcuts. So now that we've got those shortcuts made, let's go ahead and start MAMP. And we're going to take that off. We don't want to check for MAMP Pro when we start. We're just going to launch MAMP. Okay, and the other thing that you can always do is if you wanted to check your version of MAMP, you can go to About MAMP like this, and can find out more information about what version you're running later if you need to upgrade it. So where it says Start Servers, we're going to go ahead and click on that. And it's going to ask me, do you want to accept the incoming connection for MySQL daemon, and you want to say allow. And that's fine, because that's going to be for the MySQL server. Now, I'm going to show you a couple of things about this installation. It's automatically going to launch whenever I open it. It's going to launch this page. It's sort of like your starting page. I want you to notice something up here in this web address. You see where it says localhost. First of all, localhost is going to be the web address that you reference in order to access anything through the website, through like a web browser, anything that's inside of that htdocs folder. Remember, we have our htdocs folder here. Well, this might be a little confusing to you because you might be wondering what this is all about. Well, don't worry about that right now. The main thing is that localhost means that it is your computer that is running the web service. Okay. Now, there's this colon and there's 8888. Right, well, that's going to be a problem for us. I want to get rid of that. What it means is that it's using the 8888 port for running the Apache web service instead of the standard port, which is port 80. If it's using the standard 80 port, then you don't have to have this colon and then the port number, because it knows to automatically use port 80. So we need to change that setting. The reason it does this is because it understands that Apple actually has its own version of Apache running, and it doesn't want to conflict with it if you also have that enabled. So what we're going to do is we're going to make some changes. So if I go back to my control panel here, we can click on Preferences, and first of all, we can go ahead and let's go back to ports here, and you'll see that it's got these different ports here. Well, I'm going to change this so it uses the default Apache and MySQL ports. These are those default ports. MySQL by default wants to speak to another computer on port 3306. Apache wants to use port 80. So I'm going to say OK, and it's going to stop the server and start the server for you. And you're going to have to authenticate every time you stop or start the servers. Okay, and so they're both running again. And now, if I go ahead and, well, let's just close this and we'll relaunch the Open Start page, and you see now we don't have that crazy little 8888 number anymore, and it has the port information down here. This page actually gives you a lot of information that you can use whenever you're working later in your files. Okay, so and a couple of things. If you wanted to look at the FAQs, it gives you some information, but later we're going to be using phpMyAdmin. Right now, I'm not going to fool with it because we're not using MySQL yet, but this is where it is if you need to access it later. Now, phpInfo, this is useful because it tells you everything that this version of PHP is configured with. And not only that, but it's going to tell you something else. I'm going to do a find for display underscore errors, and you can see here the display errors is turned off by default in MAMP. That's not what we want. We actually want the errors to be turned on. In fact, I'm not really sure why they have that turned off to begin with, especially if you are going to be using this for the most part as a development server. On development servers, it's basically like practice servers. You want to be able to see the errors as you're creating your applications. On a production server, which is, everything is done, it's the real deal that's serving up your real website, you typically want to turn the errors off because you don't want people to see your errors and potentially even see security holes. But we want ours turned on because, what we're doing is testing stuff. We're basically learning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop the servers. Okay, and I'm going to go into the applications, and I'm going to find the MAMP folder, and I'm going to go inside of my MAMP folder, and I'm just going to open this in the Finder so I can look at it better. And what we're going to do is we're going to look for a file that's called the php.ini file. Now, it's located in some different places, so I need to make sure that I show you where the right one is.